Imagine this, being an African-American female in Las Vegas and having to overcome stereotypes that come with having a celebrity spouse. Because you have an entrepreneurial spirit from day one, you knew and were determined for your brand to stand on their own. You are now a serial entrepreneur in your city and a force to be reckoned with in the cannabis industry. You have a major footprint in the community, and giving back is your ultimate passion. Today's guest will give us a seat at her table. This is The Plug, people lending us game.
I am the plug. I am the plug. I am the plug. I am the plug.
Welcome to another episode of The Plug. I'm one of your hosts, Henry Crockett.
Darrylw.s.
I am Nick Bean. What's up, world?
And we are back. First of all, I want to be happy to celebrate the fact that our Raiders had a pretty good draft.
I'm happy about it too. Excited. You see, I wore my Raiders hat, even though I'm
Fill
from
me in,
Cleveland.
guys, because I might have missed the part
That's
of it.
okay.
I had to work.
Well,
That's
you
okay.
know.
You work, yeah, you always working. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, as much as I want to celebrate the Raiders, first I want to celebrate my two young boys that Mike Waters blessed us with last week.
Yeah. What
Yes.
happened? What happened? Did they
Brevin
get
Jordan
drafted?
got drafted. He got drafted by the Houston Texans.
Nice.
And
Okay.
then Desert Pine's own Tony Fields, he got drafted by Nick Beam's Cleveland Browns.
The Browns.
That's right.
So-
we had a great draft. I'm excited.
I mean, so I'm happy to see that obviously people we were able to talk about, we were
Yeah.
able to see them actually get called. I watched all my friends over at Tony's house crying and celebrating and having a good time. So
That's dope.
that was dope. So, but you know, football is football. We have bigger things to talk about here in Vegas today.
You're right. Something always going on in this city, man.
Dree,
What's up?
who got snatched this weekend?
Nice. That's
I
an
mean,
interesting way to put it. But
Who got
well,
acquired?
my former client Tao, 16 years running in Vegas. They're arguably the OGs, period, on the strip. But they acquired Hakkasan,
That's major.
right?
That's major.
I'm so
Yeah.
excited for them. I'm so
Yeah.
excited that they acquired them. Because Hakkasan and I feel like Tao were always, they weren't like against each other, but it was like.
Seemed like there was a rivalry or
Everyone,
something.
not even rivalry, was like, okay, one does something and then one ups the next person. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Like
On and off.
T-Mobile and Sprint.
Yeah, okay.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Even though I wouldn't really
Okay.
compare Sprint to T-Mobile though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
But I see what
but
I
I
ain't
see
saying
what
it
you were
against
saying.
what you're saying. Yeah,
T-Mobile
it's acquired.
acquired Sprint.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
They
You're
were
right.
the competitors.
I take that.
battling
Yeah, you're right.
space.
Like AT&T, Verizon kind of go at
Right.
it. No, you're
They
right.
try to
You're
knock
right.
him.
No, I ain't knocking him. You're right. But
But no, they acquired him. But I think that Tao is smart. I feel like with how they approach things. Like, they are a well-oiled machine. They understand the nightlife industry. You got Noah Teppenberg, Jason Strauss. Like, shout out to them because they're amazing.
ooh, dropping them names.
But they understand like the nightlife industry, and they also know what works and what doesn't. And I think they understand that Hakkasan is like fine as
Yeah.
Hakkasan. So they're gonna let the day-to-day situation of Hakkasan, the people running it,
Right.
still run it. But now we're just putting Tao, which is also Madison Square Garden Group,
New York,
behind
right.
it to
Right.
like really amplify this. So I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be dope for the nightlife industry out here.
Yeah, and they're major in LA too, right?
Yeah, they have Tao in LA and Hollywood, Dream,
Love that
Beauty in Essex.
Love Beauty and Essex.
Me too.
Yeah,
That's one of my
B&E
favorites.
was I was like a frequent for me when I was living in New York.
Yep.
Yeah, Beauty Sons of Essex too, right? That's all. Sons of Essex is dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another one too. It's like Magic Hour or something. It was something I randomly ended up at the opening at when I was in New York a couple years ago.
Oh, word.
And they
I
have
did.
that. Yeah, it's in Manhattan. It's cool. It's like a little like outdoor like rooftop vibe. It's cool.
Word.
It's
Wow.
it's a cool situation.
What side of town is it on?
I want to say it's like downtown. I think is where we were.
near is that near Wall Street? Like near the
Kinda,
Wall Street area?
yeah.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But it was dope. It was a really cool opening for them. So, but like I said, Tao understands hospitality and they understand food and beverage and they understand nightlife. So I feel like you merge that with Hakkasan, which
yeah.
was formerly like Angel Group, I think, or something like that. Like these guys have been around forever. So now
Yeah.
it's more like they're just coming together to
Makes
like
sense.
really run everything in nightlife.
Now, doesn't that start to make things difficult though? When you start to think that as you start to eliminate your competitors, you kind of monopolize the industry. Because I'm reading here, they've now acquired 61 entertainment dining places and nightlife venues, and they have 22 markets across 5 continents. I mean, eventually, it's like when you go to party, you only get to party one way. Like,
no, because I feel like Tao's done a really good job of like pulling different types of people. And if you've met the owners of Tao, like they're all very different. Noah is not the same as Jason, you know, and the other guys. And I feel like because they all do their own kind of culture and vibes that they pull from to make these venues and stuff pop, I feel like you are getting about 5 to 6 different views in one. Plus then you have Madison Square Garden behind it on top of it. So it's like that's a whole conglomerate on its own. So I feel like there's a lot of opinions that go into like how these venues are set up.
Right.
So.
And then you said earlier too, it's like a well-oiled machine. So they're not going to change anything. They're just going to let Hakkasan operate normal as usual.
I think that's what their plan is.
Under that ownership of Tao.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, they probably will amplify some things, but in terms of like the crew that's currently running Hakkasan, like, you know, all the employees and stuff like that, the day-to-day, I think that's staying the same. Right. So they're not putting people out of their jobs or like anything. They're just coming in to amplify.
I think it's perfect though. For me, they should be able to share the wealth that comes through Las Vegas without it being some competitor over here and competitor over here or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm looking forward to see how that turns out. There's so much more coming to Las Vegas.
Right.
But specifically because we're on this topic, which happens to be our buzz in the city and our flow and friction, I'm excited. I'm excited about all the changes that's happening. So to see this come across the headlines in the news on a local level, on a national level, means it's a big deal because all my experiences with Tao has all been phenomenal.
Right.
So to see this merger happen, I'm interested to see how that changes the landscape of Las Vegas.
Are they back open yet? Are either one of them open yet? I haven't heard.
Tao and Marquee are definitely open. I haven't been to. I want to say Hakkasan did open too, or what is it, Omnia?
I think.
And Hakkasan.
I know Marquee has been doing some things.
Marquee is
over
definitely
the past
open,
year
and
a
Tao
half.
is definitely open.
Yeah, I mean, and then we got June 1st right around the corner. So
Hakkasan on Omnia too.
I think they are part of Omnia. I think that is one too. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, they. But I don't think that I don't know if the big majors have opened yet. I know because Tao is the restaurant too. You know what I mean? So that's definitely been open. And Marquee is definitely open.
Beauty and Essex is open.
And Beauty and Essex is
all
open.
Of the restaurants obviously are operating because it's food and beverage. So anything with food and beverage is pretty much fully functional. But as far as the nightclub, I think Marquee's Pool hasn't. I don't know if they.
No, it has because I was there last night. Yeah,
Oh, she was like, I was there last night. I know.
I did do research.
I feel you. Hey, field research.
But no, I feel like it's gonna be like a good thing, and I also feel like Tao's the only one that I know that hasn't closed.
Right.
Like all the other nightclubs have closed and rebranded. I forget what Omnia was before. Pure.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep,
Pure.
it sure
yeah.
was.
Oh my God, Pure Days. And like Chateau, like they redid their stuff.
Chateau.
Remember that? Yeah. So I feel like Tao's the only one that's like maintained their presence.
Word.
I mean, Venetian holds their own. You know, they do big in that area. I mean, that space, Tao's been popular. The restaurant itself, even Lavo's.
Yeah, they have Lavo too. Tao has Lavo and Lavo Brunch.
Kicking.
Yeah.
I mean, those things, I mean,
Lavo.
and again, like, acquisitions come with a board.
I see what you just did here. I see what you did. You a smart dude.
Acquisitions definitely come with the board.
No, a board.
Right, a board.
Our next guest. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think in a sense, like, we get to kind of see the behind the scenes of kind of how that board operation might build up with our guests that we have coming in today.
But in a different lane.
Right,
though.
in a different,
Yeah,
definitely in a
nightlife,
different aspect. Just in the sense of that she has acquired a big name in Las Vegas through her market, through the boards and things like that. I'm excited to introduce her to the group.
Me too. But I feel like when you sit on a board, it's stressful. And when I'm stressed, I need a drink.
Oh, my favorite part. And I'm drinking this
like
week.
I'm
drinking
oh my
this
God,
week. Let's
y'all.
do
I've
it.
had to serve these dudes Shirley Temples for like the last couple
I
of
know,
weeks.
and I've had to hear about it every time, too.
So
I
got my
getting a
drinking
Shirley
partner back.
Temple.
Yeah.
Well, we know you're going to stay on that lane. But I finally my drinking partner back.
Yes.
Thank you.
We in the building.
Okay.
Well, we ain't going to wait too much longer.
No.
Let's go ahead and hit drinks with Drea.
All right, you guys won't be waiting for me at the bar.
All right, what's going on, Drea? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So we had to bring our lovely guest, Miss Kema Ogden.
I'm
All right.
excited. I'm excited to have her. We're gonna do some
cool.
girl talk, but I'm gonna give you all your drinks so that I can give her.
Perfect.
hers.
Got to grab Henry's and meet him back on the couch. All right.
Because
We'll
he's
see
being
y'all there.
lazy or something.
Awesome,
we'll
probably.
See.
Right. All right, Kema.
Thank you. Ooh, that looks
Like
good.
a
Nice and
dirty,
dirty
yes.
martini. So there you go.
Thank you. That looks
And
awesome.
also the champagne with you. I'll cheers you.
Okay, cheers. Cheers. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thanks for coming. I'm excited. We're excited to have you. Henry's told us a lot about you, so I'm excited to find out more. But this is like the chill part of the episode. So I want to get into like who you are outside of the CEO, the entrepreneur. What do you do for fun?
Man, I have my kids, so it's hard balance, with all the different companies and things that I'm associated with and my time. So anytime I have that's free, I try to spend it with them.
Okay.
And just really time with my friends. I try to make sure I carve out a little bit of time for myself, my family, and that's what's important to me after work.
Just
You gotta grind.
Always. What do you do with like your friends? Like if you had a perfect like girls like night out, like what are you doing?
You know what? We actually come to Bloom sometimes. It's a great
Yes.
location. But we, a little dinner, keep it at low key Vegas. We don't hit the strip.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit past that. I grew up here.
Oh, okay.
So spent a lot of time, just throughout the city. So I know, what you don't need to go to the strip to have a good time.
That's so true.
Anyway, but yeah, we try to do little things like that, little local spots and whatnot.
Support the
Try to
local
support
businesses.
the local businesses.
I love that. So you grew up here. What was that like growing up in? Because everyone I feel like has an assumption of what it would be like to grow up in Vegas.
Yes.
Is it as crazy as?
No, and I'm a little defensive about my city only because people like, you live there? Like, everybody comes down from the casinos and they go to work and then they just go back up. And that's usually the perception people have had of Las Vegas for a long time and you don't know anything about it. But no, we're like any other city. You got churches, you got outskirts, you got, suburbs, you have everything, that everybody else has. It's no different. And I look at it this way. It's like, Vegas is very corporate as well in a lot of ways. So you couldn't just go to the strip and get in a club with a fake ID. They're very strict about things.
Yeah,
so
they are.
I look at it like it's actually very controlled in that sense. And, I feel like it's actually a great city to live in. I chose to stay here and do business because when I was very young, I can see the booming of the economy, like even back then, the economy was always booming and growing, and I loved how Vegas was very fast paced and there was a lot of opportunity here. I could have went anywhere, but I chose to come and stay here and really develop my companies and things here. And I went to UNLV.
So you're a trooper supporter, local. Shout out to UNLV on that one.
Yeah,
They're amazing.
so I think it's a great city. I think we get a bad rap because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And when people come in, of course, there's a lot of things to do, but it's no different than Miami or New York or some of the big cities out there, LA.
Right.
It's just our own little thing.
Right. And there's difference between tourists and like the locals, you know what I mean? And I think any city, most locals are not doing what the tourists are doing anyways.
At all.
Yeah. And I know even from living here for a few years, like, I'll come to the strip if someone's there, but otherwise
Yeah, you don't gamble when you live here for the most part because your mortgage will be on the table. You can't do it.
Right.
If someone comes here visiting and stuff, then I'll go out and, mess around a little bit, but for the most part, I try to show people the other side of the city. They can go and walk the strip with those big long drinks all they want, and then I'll meet you later and we'll do some of the local stuff. And I think that's where the true love is, and the true heart of Vegas is really now outside of just the strip.
It is. I mean, even this establishment proves that you could bring something off the strip and it's still gonna be, you're still gonna get the celebrities and have fun, but it's still a local place.
Yeah, there's a lot of places like this as well. So I think it's just a matter of showcasing a lot of different local places and different things that people don't get to see.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so you're drinking this dirty martini. Why a dirty martini?
You know what? I have not had a dirty martini in a long time. I don't know. I was just feeling a little bit, a little frisky today. I was feeling a little dirty.
Okay.
So, I don't really have a favorite drink. I like wines. I'm a big wine drinker, but today I wanted a little something different. So
I love it. Well, let's take your dirty martini. We're gonna take it back to the couch, and the guys got some questions for you. I already know. So I'm gonna cheers you.
Cheers.
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 Yes,
Cheers.
yes. Take my drink.
Well, you ladies were over at the bar and you guys
We
came
were.
back very, very happy. So I imagine.
We had girl talk. It was so much fun. But I know now you want to talk to her about her game, and she got a lot of game for us. So
Well,
I'll let y'all take the floor.
let's start with introduce yourself to our audience, Miss Kema.
Hi, my name is Kema Ogden. I am a local here in Las Vegas, and I am a serial entrepreneur, which I hear the term being used nowadays. So I'm just
Yes.
gonna go with that.
I love it.
And yeah, I'm here to talk about some of the business stuff that I do, and hopefully some people could pick a few things up from that.
I don't think they're gonna pick up many things.
Right. Because that we think you're amazing. And I think with one of the biggest things for me, because I know you personally, I've known you for years now, and we talked off the set how, we met just kind of two people with business mindsets. It just kind of was like, I recognize game in you and vice versa. So we were able to establish communication and keep it going. But I was more amazed of how you became your own front run to the things you do in business. And I say that because our audience may not know this, but she's married to an NFL player who's not only just an NFL player, but a Hall of Famer. And a lot of people have the stigma that you would never have to do anything, but that just wasn't who you were. You became the front face of the corporation side of everything you guys do. You want to share in on that?
Yeah, it definitely was a personal choice. I'd always ran different companies. It was always my goal and intention to have my own business, even when I met my husband. As a matter of fact, when we were dating, I would take him to kind of go. I was already kind of bidding on businesses, and that was like, hey, why don't you come with me? Check out this XYZ, and I would do that. So that was like very early on. I always knew what I wanted to do. I was running other people's companies. I was really good at making them money, and so so it was a no-brainer for me. Like you said,
Right.
It's just what I do. But yes, I could have sat home and ate bonbons and been sitting there, all day. But I just, I always had the passion and the drive for the community, for business. And there's no way that I could let that go, unfortunately,
Right.
for my husband, because at the time, very early on we started a family and whatnot, but he retired soon after, and I just kept going and actually getting busier and busier and busier. So I'm sure he at first thought we were just going to be relaxing and retiring
Right.
together very young, in a sense, and NFL young. He retired, he's in his 30s, that's young. So but no, I chose to kind of keep the grind and keep to my goals and really focus on what I was passionate about. And, that's kind of how it all went.
Awesome. That's wow.
I
I'm
mean-
sure was he happy about that though? Like once he seen you going, as he's falling back and relaxing, he's like, oh, okay, here's my wife making some major moves. Like how did he feel about it?
Yeah, I think, initially it was more like, why are you doing this? We don't really need, like, we're good. We don't need the money, this and that and the other. But there was so much more that I felt that I could give my kids. When my son was young, he retired, my husband retired at the time, and, they don't get to see that work ethic and you set a goal, you get it and conquer it, and the grind and, all those things that come with developing a business from start to finish and seeing it through, and then meeting your goals and then setting another one. And, all they saw was, they know the dad as the legend, he's
Right.
now a legend and this and that and the other. So I felt like this was something I can give them that nobody can give them.
Wow.
And so I just kept pushing through that, and, for my family and whatnot. So I have parents, I have other family members I want to make sure are good, and I don't want to have to worry about anybody else having to take that burden on, in a sense, if you think it's a burden. I don't know. My point is you don't want to push those things on other people. I wanted to be able to do that myself. Is something that it was really important to me, so I just kept it going.
That's awesome. I think that's very important too, because NFL careers on average are short-lived.
Yeah.
So the things that you're able to achieve after football, I'm sure I would be proud if I were him. So I'm sure he's proud.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I
Oh,
appreciate
absolutely.
that. Thank you.
And yeah, I mean, so okay, so you guys So he retires, and you say, you know what, I'm gonna go after it. Walk us through, you know, the chronological order of how things started, because you have a foundation.
Well, I actually started a gym. I opened a gym up. At the time, it was called UFC Gym. It's one of the franchise gyms. At the time, it's called LA Boxing, and they got bought out. But I had that gym, and I started a nonprofit at the same time, so that way I could bring kids into the gym. I had a facility for them, and so not knowing, because I never had a nonprofit business before, you know, I didn't realize how crazy that was, because really it is. It's two companies, you're starting at the same time. People think nonprofit, and they think, oh, you know, I'm just going to go out there and give. You can't. It needs to be, you know, like any business. It needs to be like a Walgreens, Walmart, whatever it is. It needs to be ran no differently. And so people always ask me, like, you have any advice? I want to start a nonprofit. I'm like, oh, whoa, you know. So
He's starting a business.
I hate to be negative. I'm just like, hey, it's real. It's one of the hardest businesses to do. So basically, I did those simultaneously, and I had my gym for 8 years. And then that's where I met Crockett.
Nice.
And so basically from there, I felt like I really evolved and grew. The amount of time and effort you put into something like that in that industry is grueling. I'm very hands-on. I'm very involved. I'm there every day. I'm working in front. I'm there, you know. And I felt like at some point I outgrew that. I needed to, if I was going to invest that kind of time, I needed to make it to where it was a bigger project and more lucrative in a lot of ways, because I'm, you know, dedicating so much time to it. And at that point you evolve as well in your own business, and you know, like, okay, now I need, instead of a Walmart, I need a Walgreens. Instead of Walgreens, I need Walmart. I need to, like, you know, branch out. So I started looking into other opportunities, what was kind of hidden out there, and what I was passionate about, how to bring those things together. And that's when I kind of started veering into other areas, and still really keeping it health, wellness, education based and everything, because I personally feel, and for those out there that are really interested in business, I really feel like it's important to really make everything kind of speak to each other, but at the same time be very independent of each other, so they can function independently but yet support each other. And so I always had that strategy. I kept it, and it worked for me, you know. So as I progressed and grew into other business opportunities, I really kept to that formula, and it was still a passion, and it was still everything that, you know, I really believed in. So it's only going to really grow and be successful, because, you know, that's important. You got to love what you're doing. You got to believe in it.
Sure.
And if you're lucky, you know, you have that kind of passion for it, and you can make money, because not everybody can make money off of their passion.
That's
So,
real.
you know, but I kept a winning formula that worked for me, and I just kept pushing, you know, fighting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But speaking of fighting, like, one of my favorite things about you is that you've really kind of put a forefront as a woman entrepreneur, which we talked about the off camera, how hard that can be, especially women of color in general, doing all of those things. How were you able to put yourself out there and also get away from the stigmas like he was talking about with your husband and things like that, and really, like, put yourself in a position to be that female entrepreneur and CEO?
Yeah, no, you know, as we talked about, like, it's already hard enough as it is being a woman in corporate America or a big business, and then add minority factor, and so you're already, like, taking these hits.
Right.
You know, you got to be twice as smart, you got to be twice as knowledgeable about what you're trying to do, you got to be twice as motivated and talented, and all these things, just to get a level playing field. And so I knew that early on, and yeah, you know, and then being married to the situation, my husband being who he was, and that's very hard stigma, because on top of the women in business, and top of minority, then I'm also this person who was, you know, put in a situation, like, he saved me, and, you know, you get all these stigmas that come with it, like, ooh, you're so lucky. And so all these things that come with that is very difficult to overcome. But I knew, you know, I knew my value. I knew what I had going on, and it really, you know, never stopped me. But it is hard. It is an obstacle, and I knew I just had to put myself in the forefront of everything I had going on, because, like, you know, we talked about before, I had always been involved in the things I was doing, but because people automatically attach any success of whatever's happening in the family to him, and so I had to break off that stigma on my own and just kind of put myself in the forefront of everything that I was doing, so that people knew, like, hey, you know, I want to talk about this charity event, I want to talk about this business, I want to talk about XYZ. And they're like, okay, cool, have him come to this interview, have him come. I'm like, well, he doesn't have any clue. He couldn't even tell you where the bathroom is in the building. Like, it doesn't, but that's not what people want. And so eventually I had to really fight that battle, take it on head first, and, you know, grab it by the horns and just move. And then eventually, you know, that's what became the forefront. You know, now I don't even no one asks. about that at all. Matter of fact, most people don't even know half the time. Yeah. They just know who I am and what I do and what I can do, and so, you know, that's kind of how it worked for me. So
that's what we call boss moves.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
and you have to attribute that to being able to separate the two, right? Because obviously you have these businesses and they come as a brand, but through that success, you then have to realize that your personal brand becomes the most forefronted loudspeaker for you, right? Like, what your personal brand is and who you are is what then adds validity to the brands and things that you've built. And you've built your personal brand through other things. Like, you know, we talked about it, and again, I keep wanting to say she has 7, but she has reminded me 100 times that there isn't 7. But you are on a seat in a few boards in town, and like, you told me it's important for me to get into that. Now we've learned that there was additional reasons, and I've already been fired from that opportunity.
He got replaced.
I got replaced already.
The options are endless.
But as a friend, you told me it's important for me to get myself on some boards. Can you share with our audience the importance that you feel that has as far as people being related to their communities?
But yeah, you know, so I'm in different, like I said, I'm in health and wellness industry. So, you know, owning the gym, sold that. I'm now in the cannabis space. I own a dispensary in town as well as a cultivation, facility. And I'm also now, I also now have 5 other licenses that I'm a part of. So I have 6 total. So with other people, you know, partners and whatnot. But so I've expanded and grown into that, but I've always, you know, with my nonprofit stuff, and just different organizations, I've always sat on different boards and tried to give back into the cause and being on the ground floor, because this is the important thing from the business sense for people have to understand. It's like, you know, you need a seat at the table, first of all. And a lot of the boards that you sit on, that is the seat at the table, because if it's a nonprofit, that's who owns the company, first off. So the way that that's structured is very important to be on the board, you know, that of that company, if you really want to see that company succeed and grow and expand and do all the things that you need it to do. So from a control standpoint, business standpoint, is great, but also from the community standpoint, making sure that you're involved on the ground floor, you're really involved in what's happening. And, you know, it's good for business in general. Some people do it, you know, just to get out there and kind of meet different industry people, have different opportunities. So it does different things for different people. I started my own nonprofit, so of course I was the president of that for a very long time. And then I took over a medical center. It's a nonprofit medical center. And, you know, so I don't sit on that board. I'm actually a CEO of that company, so I cannot sit on that board. But I do think it's important. I do sit on a board for Doctors for Cannabis Regulations. It's basically doctors that really try to help regulate in legislation, social justice issues, and they tackle all different things in the cannabis space, making sure that it's nationally regulated from a perspective of physicians and people who know what this does. And so the advocacy piece of that is really important to me, and that's why I did that. And then I recently got asked by Governor Sisolak to be on the board for the Cannabis Commission board as an advisory panel member. So that right there is very special to me, because one, we regulate cannabis in the state of Nevada, and I actually have say influence, I would say, into how that can be structured.
Right.
And some of the issues that are important to me, like social inclusion, social justice issues, minority inclusion, women inclusion, those type of issues that I really fight for in the community, I now can be at the table.
Right.
I can say, hey, look, you need to do expungement. We need to talk about that. What's going on with the Black and brown communities.
Right.
We need to talk about how to include them into the cannabis space. They started. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Literally
basically
on their back.
on
Yeah.
their back.
Right.
But
Yeah.
so how can we do that? I could sit around. I some people say I made it. I have a dispensary. That's the hardest thing they do in this
Right.
industry is to get these licenses that I've been able to secure.
Right.
And so I've made it to the pinnacle of what that looks like. But I'm not okay with that. My brothers and sisters, my people, I have family members that went to jail for having a little bit of something in their pocket,
Right.
and then now they can't even be in the industry. So things like that are just not right. So we have to do what's right. We can't be selfish. And I think as a business person, I speak to your base out there. It's like I personally feel like the reason I'm so successful in the different things that I try to do is because you do include the community. You give back to them. You really get to know what their needs are, and I feel like it comes full circle. Because you support them, they support you.
Absolutely.
And so because I support the community, we're in the ground floor. We still do all of our medical, even though we're recreational and medical, we still really support the medical side of it, because it is medicine. Regardless of what you're doing with it on a recreational side or not, it's all medicine. So we push that for patients. We really try to support the community, and in return, they support us, and that's why we're or one of the original license holders that were very first pioneers out here to do this, and we're one of the few that is still the original owners. Everybody else is kind of bought out by big corporate America and all these big public companies that are coming in from like Canada and all these other places, and we're one of the only ones, and we're top 5 at least in the state. So we really compete, and we're nobody to mess with. So
Go, girl. I am not
Sit next to
mad.
you, I see
Right.
why. And I think it's very important too. We talked a little bit about cannabis and 420 in our previous show. Obviously, our lovely co-host has her background in the cannabis industry, and like education is extremely important because obviously we see what it's done to our community, but we've seen the positives of it. It's wiped out debts in other cities, and and created revenue for other countries. It's a factor that we need to take into consideration, and also the education of how to use it medically. Because there's always been a negative stigma to it, and to have and have other people that are educating our audience on how this really is a positive thing, and what it does not only for our economy but for us personally. Like, I think it's awesome, and the fact that Vegas is legalized, and to have someone like yourself on the show breaking down the education of it is extremely important. So we can have the fun side of it, but we can also have the most important part of it, which is the education.
Right.
So we appreciate you being on the show talking about these things. My question, and we ask this question to all of our guests, is if someone was wanting to, follow in your footsteps, can you give the audience, some perspective, some real game on, how?
Whatever industry you go into, I feel like it's all the same in some areas. Like, you have to, once again, you have to know more than the people in the room. Unfortunately, you got to educate yourself, you got to do your research, and you got to know to stay in your lane. Not everybody who can bake should own a bakery. And that's really the truth. Just because you love something and you might be good at something doesn't mean you can actually do the business without partnering with the right people or teaming up. Sometimes you got to do that. When I started my gym, I was the only owner there, and so in the foundation, I was the only one that kind of started that. So at first, I didn't have those partnerships, and initially, sometimes, you think, oh no, if I could do this myself, I'm gonna do it. But really, if you can find the right team of people to really support you, work with, and grow, sometimes you need that. And I was fortunate enough to find the right people in the right situations with some of the different things that I'm involved in, and that's why I'm able to do what I'm doing now. And so when I tell people, know your lane, that doesn't mean you can't do the business. Just know you got to partner with people to do it. Sometimes a little bit of equity in the company is better than none.
Right.
You know, and if you're going to shut down and not succeed later down the line because you don't really know how to run a company, it's not real. You're going to lose everything. You got to be smart from the beginning, off the jump. You know, you can't be greedy and selfish when you think about the long term. You got to really think about what's going to work in the long run. So.
Absolutely.
I do have one more thing I'd like you to, I don't want to use the word brag about, but I'm happy that you've brought it to us. I've enjoyed it multiple times, and that's actually like the foundation that you do have and the events and the things you do for the community. Like share with our audience what that's like, because I mean, I know sponsorships and things are important when you want to reach out and get money for those, so our audience watching may find the love for what you're already doing in the community, and we might be able to earn you a couple extra dollars.
I appreciate it.
Pocketbooks.
Open them.
So basically, you know, the Ogden Family Foundation, we've always done health, wellness, education programs for kids and family members, where we would do after-school programs, fitness, wellness camps, but always combine that with mental health. And so we do adopt a family every year. We adopt families for the holidays.
Wow.
Every year where we supply them with food, clothing, furniture, all the way down to the toys for the kids, everything you can think of. We give families thousands of dollars worth of items. And so that has been something we've done for the past 8 years. So we do have a golf tournament coming up in September 20th. If anybody wants to come out and support the foundation, as I was saying before, with the medical clinic that we kind of partnered with, that's to help expand the programs into behavioral health and
Good.
substance abuse issues and things like that we are now expanding our programs into, as well as physical health. So anybody who wants to come and support, they can go to the ogdenfamilyfoundation.org or the Celebrity Bowl, the ogdencelebritybowl.com, and check us out.
That Celebrity
I
Bowl
love
is
that.
amazing. I was a 3-time champion.
Yeah, you did win a couple times.
Yeah. And then I had a hiatus where I missed a year and I came back, and now everybody's like paying to beat me. I don't
Yeah.
like it. So.
So you prepping for next year then, huh?
Oh yeah, I
He
got
has
a
a target.
team
He
built.
has a
I got
target on
a
his
team
back.
built. But it's exciting what you do, and we value that. And I mean, I think the information that you've been able to bring us today has been huge.
It's inspiring too, especially as a woman, like a woman of color, and in cannabis too. And we didn't get deep into it, but we going to off camera. But it's real, like the whole equity thing and like that across the board is. I'm glad there's people on the board like you that have the voice out there for us.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, you know, this is the part where we go to get you another drink at the bar. But I think what we do have to look forward to, and I'm speaking for all three of us, is our Access to Plug segment, where we'll cover some more of the cannabis things and as well as your charity event on the golf course. So.
Well, I'd be happy to come back anytime you guys want.
Oh yeah,
Yes. We're definitely gonna
this
bring
is
you
home
back.
for you. So we cheers to you. You know, cheers with
you guys.
empty glass.
Well,
Oh, you
no,
got
I
something.
got
You got
some
some
more.
else
Get
in
you
there.
some.
Got a little left. I got
Can't
some.
we
We
got
got
her.
her.
Might not have alcohol. Tune in next week.
I am the plug. I am the plug.